Alien Earth is the latest entry into the long-running franchise that all at once pays homage to its source material while breaking some entirely new ground with a thought experiment worthy of the best kind of proper science fiction. It's an evolution, it's slick and scary, just like every good little Xenomorph should be. I'm Clint Gage, and this is my review of Alien Earth Season 1. Ridley Scott's original Alien in 1979 is one of science fiction's biggest pairs of shoes to fill. In fact, I'd say the best the franchise has been since the original was James Cameron's sequel, which was a completely different genre. Going toe-to-toe with the original as a claustrophobic monster movie has been proven to be a bad idea for decades. So, when Alien Earth's first episode opens with a beat-for-beat recreation of some of the original Alien's early moments, best case scenario, you call that confident. Get it wrong, and it's pandering fanfic. The good news is, Noah Hawley and the writers and directors behind Alien Earth's first season have no intentions of pandering to anybody for anything. More so than 2024's Romulus, this series is going back to the roots of the franchise in some really effective ways. Alien Earth is clearly set in the same universe, and of course has all the nods and winks and Easter eggs one would expect with a legacy prequel series. But by Hawley and FX's own admission, they're also pretty clearly unconcerned with how Earth actually fits into the established Alien canon. This series, of course, acknowledges the roots of the franchise in a number of ways. The production design is straight out of the 1979 original, as is the wardrobe. The languid edits and slow cross-dissolves will also feel familiar, as will the class struggle playing out between characters eager to remind others of their rank. And the music does a lot of heavy nostalgic lifting as well, because Hawley and the series composer Jeff Russo are very much not shy about pulling some of those Jerry Goldsmith sounds from the original film. But most importantly, all those little nods to fan service buy Alien Earth the credibility it needs to start caring less about the official timeline of the franchise. It proves the creative team understand what world this show is stepping into, and it affords them more latitude to make some different choices. And look, if all we're getting is legacy-quels, reboots, and prequels, this is how you do it. Put the fan stuff in there, but make sure it's got a point. Make sure it's pulling in the same direction as the new voice that you're injecting into the franchise. Andor did this for Star Wars, and if you saw my reviews on that show, you know I love that stuff. But what do we really need out of a TV series set in this universe, if not great creature design? And thanks to Earth, the Alien franchise finally introduced us to some new weird-looking aliens. The design of these new creatures is very good, maybe not great, but even so, they help Alien Earth scratch that scared of the dark itch. Perhaps better than any entry in the franchise outside of the first movie. This show taps into that caveman part of your brain where you know something is not right, that there's danger lurking out there, just out of view. It was like midnight the other night when I was watching these episodes for the review, and I had to go out into the backyard and get the cat back inside, and I didn't find him right away, and I found myself standing in the dark, just totally convinced something out there was going to kill and eat me. And the cat's fine. By the way, Carrots eventually came back inside, but it was harrowing for me thanks to this show. There is one exception, though, that I won't dig into because it's best to just put your own eyes on it. I will only say that in episode 4, this particular creature stars in one of the gnarliest scenes I've seen on any screen in some time. And I feel like it will be the unexpected star of this season. Like the Alien franchise has found its Grogu, just, terrifying instead of adorable. Still, when it comes to sheer extraterrestrial horror, there's no beating the Xenomorph. H.R. Giger's original design is acid-etched into the movie monster Mount Rushmore, and it casts a long shadow as well. I wouldn't be alone in arguing that it's the main reason the franchise has had such staying power. And that's an important thing to keep in mind when you look at how this show deals with its newly acquired deep space specimens. Alien Earth doesn't want to remix, reheat, or replace the Xenomorph. It seems like an effort was made to keep the perfect organism separate and special in a non-competitive space with the new creatures. And there are some truly nerve-wracking scenes where this alien menagerie is all in a room together, just watching, observing their environment and the people keeping them captive and studying them. But weirdly enough, Hawley lets most of the cast do this as well. There's a similar eeriness happening between humans and synths and cyborgs as well. The nonverbal communication deployed in Alien Earth is next level, which brings me to what I think is the smartest thing about this show. Beyond all the connections to the movies and the creature design, gnarly or otherwise, you can't sleep on the way this show is expanding Alien as a franchise. The films have grown increasingly fascinated with the synthetics, from Ash's monster in hiding to Bishop's face turn to David getting top billing in Prometheus. Alien has always dealt with the artificial right alongside the pure evolutionary machine of the Xenomorph. Alien Earth's addition to this lineage comes in the form of the hybrid, a human consciousness ported over to a synthetic body. More specifically, it's terminally ill children being moved from their failing human bodies into new robotic supercomputer models. The ramification of that, the moral questions very rightly raised by experimenting like that with children, are dealt with at length as a central conceit of the season, so I won't dwell on that here. What I will say, though, is that it offers a sort of one-to-one dynamic between the kids and the Xenomorph. They're all organisms moved to a new host body to be studied and exploited by corporations. That's what I found to be the most interesting thread to pull on, and to be fair, there's a moment in this season where it's pulled so hard the entire sweater almost comes unraveled. Now, it didn't for me. My sweater stayed intact, but there's a tipping point where the story of this season might lean a little too weird. Were it not for the impeccable groundwork laid in the first half of the season and the pace with which the connection is revealed, it might not have worked. Either way, that the experience these children are having is so tied to the life cycle of a xenomorph, it's an interesting place to take Alien, one that honestly feels like the natural next step on the path they've been on since Ridley Scott ditched space truckers for billionaires who wanted to meet God. I've come all this way without mentioning one of the show's biggest strengths. The cast is great. Mostly new faces and a few old reliables. There's not a weak link among them. All the kids, played by adults, do a truly remarkable job with the sort of childlike wonder that's perfectly incongruous with their physical appearance. Boy Cavalier, played by Samuel Blinken, is infinitely hateable as the head of the mega-corporation Prodigy. Timothy Olyphant is the one for sure recognizable member of this cast, with genuine apologies to Essie Davis and Miss Fisher's Murder Mysteries fans everywhere, my wife included. Oliphant is at his best when he's doing less is more. You know, he's the ideal kind of still waters run deep performer to cast as a synthetic with an unthinkable breadth of knowledge and wisdom and scheming mixed in with his subroutines. His character, Kirsch, is a melting pot of influences as well, with a look that's clearly giving Roy Batty, and a performance, as he told us at Comic-Con, that's peppered with Natasha McElhone from Steven Soderbergh's remake of Tarkovsky's Solaris. So it's a wide range, and he's clearly having a blast doing all of it.
We don't lock them down. It will be too late.
Sydney Chandler, though, is hands down the star of this thing. In every close-up of her as the first hybrid, Wendy, you can see that she's processing a million things at a million miles an hour, all with the bright and brave eyes of the little girl living inside this synthetic husk. Her journey in this season is the one you really need to buy into if you're going to get everything on offer with Alien Earth. That thread that gets pulled onto its breaking point works in large part thanks to Chandler's performance. If you don't like that part of the series, it's certainly not on her. There's one line delivery in episode 1, it's just 3 little words, but it made me, alone at midnight trying to find my cat outside, say, "Holy shit," out loud. Her performance is that consistently strong throughout.
You want to see a magic trick?
Look, frankly, I'm ready for everybody to just see this show so I can start talking about it in spoilery detail, which is its own kind of endorsement. And for now, in this non-spoiler review, I get to close by talking about vibes. The vibes in this show, unreal. The slow edits and the double exposure transitions and the way the title sequence plays out like an eerie previously on montage of some of the more disturbing images Alien Earth has offered up to that point. There are super fun little bits of technique, like when characters talk to each other over the radio, the sound isn't filtered the way we normally hear phone calls or radio transmissions on screen. It sounds like the voice is right there in the room. It's just cool. It offers nothing to the proceedings other than me sitting here thinking, well, that's cool. And to be clear, I'm not a cool for the sake of cool guy. Generally, I find myself having zero patience for that sort of thing. But then Noah Hawley decides to end every episode of Alien Earth with a very loud hard rock track. There's nothing narratively in the show that begs for a booming needle drop as soon as the credits roll. There's no character with an affinity for music or any sort of Guardians of the Galaxy style built-in excuse for a soundtrack. And the songs don't even necessarily match the tone of the last scene as a sort of emotional transition out of the episode. And you have to dig around in the lyrics to find any kind of connection, which there is one, but it's kind of a long walk. The choice to find these connections, though, in hard rock tracks which I won't name because they're each such pleasant surprises, I think is mostly just to remind you that this show f***s. I love it.
This ship finds something on a faraway moon. Monsters.
Alien Earth is getting a 9. In this far-flung future of the year 2025, when all that's on offer is familiar IP, you have to appreciate the ones that do it right. Much like Andor's second season from earlier in the year, Alien Earth matches an apex of late 70s cinema in look and feel while blowing out the world to create a new context with which to view the franchise, even if one of the central story points might take a step too close to the absurd. Simultaneously providing fans with the eggs, both Easter and Xenomorph, that they expect, and shedding concerns of fitting into continuity, Noah Hawley has made an amazing piece of science fiction on the strength of solid production and creature design, an incredible cast, and needle drops that make me want a cigarette. For more on Alien Earth, I can't imagine we won't be talking more about this show, and for more reviews, check out what we thought of Weapons and The Naked Gun. 2 movies that I think are probably on either end of whichever spectrum has Alien Earth right in the middle. And for everything else, subscribe to IGN wherever you like to watch.